8 episodes in, I think that most anime fans can already tell that the Ancient Magus Bride is shaping up to be something really special. Its fantastical setting, its strong writing, and its sometimes Studio Ghibli tier depictions of magic have caught a lot of people's attention, which is all the more impressive for a show coming from a team led by relative newbies based on the work of an equally new mangaka. It's the top show of the season on both Crunchyroll and MAL, and the highest rated new series of the year after Made in Abyss, and it's not even over yet. And aside from that show, which I promise I'll get to, it's the series that I've gotten the most requests to cover on What's in an OP. Which is a bit awkward because while the theme song is incredible, the footage attached to it doesn't leave much to analyze, well directed though it may be. But I'll still oblige you guys. The first 50 seconds is a stylish, dramatized representation of Chisei's sense of loneliness and despair before meeting Elias, shown through interpretive dance on a black background, which happens to be very cheap to animate, though I'm sure that wasn't their main motivation in making it this way. Rather, I think the stillness and the length of each of these shots is meant to create contrast with what follows. The last 40 seconds shows a whirlwind of events as Chisei's life is upended by Elias introducing her to magic, comprised of a beautifully animated 20-second sequence of him quickly lifting her out of the darkness with a tower of thorns, and a 20-second montage of brief clips from the show that are just, clips of the show. Things that will happen in the story. There's not much to interpret here, again. I'm not 100% caught up on the manga, so I can't say for sure, but I would guess that this shot of Chisei emerging from the flames of a phoenix is either another scene from later in the story, or a metaphorical representation of her either being reborn from, or cheating the death that is apparently her destiny as a slay beggy. The OP ends with Chisei and the rest of the main cast standing at the doorway to Elias's house. The way that Chisei looks off into the distance, off camera, hints that more is coming for her that we haven't yet seen, while the way that she settles into place after stopping reflects that she's finally found a home where she belongs here, strange though her housemates and her husband may be. There you go, OP analyzed. Leave a comment below, hit subscribe, give me money on Patreon. And if you enjoy The Ancient Magus Bride, you'll probably also enjoy the similar romantic fantasy Spice and Wolf if you haven't seen or read it already, or its sequel, Wolf and Parchment. If you buy the light novels of either of those series from Bookwalker's store between now and November 18th, you'll be entered to win a Holo Nendoroid or a signed... What? Give me a sec. I need to tell you how you can get the books for almost nothing with the promo code BASEMENT and... What? You want more? Yeesh, first you guys complain that my analysis videos are too long, now apparently attaching a sponsorship to 1 minute of content is... Okay, well, when you put it that way, that does seem kinda scummy. Alright, fine, I have a lot more to say about The Ancient Magus Bride anyway. But it's a bit of a departure from my usual style. Instead of breaking down one specific moment or aspect of the show, I'd like to talk about what, in a broader sense, makes this series so... well... magical. I'm not just being cute when I say that. There will be time to talk about the show's wonderful music, from a first-time composer, no less, and the surprisingly tender and nuanced relationship between Chisei and Elias, but today I just want to indulge my inner geek a little and talk about the series' world building and fantasy writing. The way that The Ancient Magus Bride presents magic is as true to life as anything I've ever seen in anime, or just about any work of fantasy fiction, period. But Geoff, you ask, how can magic be true to life when it's not real? Do you actually believe in magic like that guy Donald Trump just nominated to be a federal judge? Should we call someone to help you? No, disembodied voice in my head, I am perfectly sane, thank you very much. I think you're just mad because I won't burn the unbelievers. See, while magic isn't real per se, the concept of magic has been around since the days of antiquity. As a pre-scientific explanation for natural phenomena, it dates back as far as humans have been trying to understand the world around them. Almost every culture in the world has had its own ideas of witchcraft and sorcery, its own myths about supernatural beings, spirits, and demons. The author of The Ancient Magus Bride, Kore Yamazaki, has clearly studied much of this lore intimately and crafted a version of our modern world where all of it is assumed to be true. The resulting setting feels authentic in ways that few other works of fantasy can match. Of course, the Ancient Magus Bride isn't unique for drawing on folklore in this way. J.K. Rowling put a tongue-in-cheek spin on many of the same stories to create Harry Potter, and in the world of anime, luminaries like Hayao Miyazaki and Rumiko Takahashi have both drawn extensively from Japanese folklore to craft the worlds of some of their most beloved stories. But even among those contemporaries, Yamazaki stands out for her more global perspective. Where most Japanese creators naturally tend to draw on Japanese mythology or cherry-pick appealing elements of Western stories, and most writers from other areas tend to draw from their own areas, Yamazaki has dug deep into folklore from across Europe, mainly focusing on the British Isles, but also ranging as far as Russia in order to craft her world. The OVA, Those Awaiting a Star, further enriches that world by showing how Japanese myths can fit into it. In the 8 episodes of the show that are out so far, we've already seen her draw on Gaelic and Celtic fairy lore, an old English folktale about the King of the Cats, and even the works of Shakespeare. She puts her own spin on all of these sources in order to unify them, but she keeps enough of the originals that her interpretation feels undeniably accurate. She goes about uniting these folkloric elements with her modern setting using the same philosophy as real modern magicians trying to do the same. More than once, characters in the Ancient Magus Bride have described magic as causing change to occur in accordance with the mage's will, echoing the ideas of Aleister Crowley, one of the most prominent mystics of the 20th century. In doing this, Yamazaki brings to the table a sensibility rarely seen in modern fantasy fiction. She treats all of the fantastical elements as though they're real. While past writers like William Shakespeare genuinely believed that the fairies and witches they were writing about were really part of their world, most modern fantasy authors use the fact that magic isn't real as an excuse to unfetter themselves from the boundaries of reality, like physics for instance, and create worlds that are totally unique, as long as you've never read Tolkien before. Contemporary fantasy like Harry Potter, Artemis Fowl, or much of Neil Gaiman's work, which presents these magical elements as a secret part of our own world's history, is a lot rarer by comparison. This is true in anime as well. Fantasy anime set in alternate realities are a dime a dozen, while stories like Spirited Away or Inuyasha that ostensibly take place in our world are much less common. This may just be because it's a lot easier to get audiences to suspend their disbelief when your story is set entirely outside of our reality. Just look at how much mileage I got out of poking holes in the fake game design of SAO, and that story is relatively mundane. But when anime does make the effort to blend fantastical elements into our reality, it gives it a distinctive flavor. Whether it's a more contemporary work like Durarara or Fate, or a period piece like Baccano, there's just something about this approach to fantasy that grabs me. This may sound like a weird leap, but that's a big part of why I love Spice and Wolf so much. Even though it could be set in a parallel world, it draws so much on real medieval culture, politics, and economics that it could just as easily take place in our own world's history. That's one of the things that sets it apart from Maoyu. In the books, they even directly reference the Christian church. You can find out more about that by watching my Adapt or Die video on Spice and Wolf, or reading them yourselves at Okay, I'll save that spiel for the end of the video. This isn't just about authenticity for authenticity's sake. Yes, seeing the mages in Ancient Magus Bride gathering materials for their spells from the natural world, mixing potions, invoking spirits, or conducting arcane rituals in intricate detail does make its magic feel more realistic, but there's more to it than that. There's a certain tone in old folklore that's missing from a lot of fantasy in the modern world. Back in the day, when most people genuinely believed in sorcery, fairies, witches, and the like, they didn't view them with the same sense of wonder that we tend to. They were terrified of them. From their perspective, there was a very real chance that a child who wandered too far from home might be abducted by fairies and never seen again, because fairies were assholes, but that's a topic for another day. Of course, in reality, that kid would probably be eaten by a bear or something, but medieval forensic technology being what it was, he'd still never be seen again, so the explanation didn't really matter. In those days, the blight on your crops could easily be the curse of a witch, and the howl of the wind in the night could be the wail of a banshee, foretelling your impending death, which was, pretty likely since most people didn't live too long back then. but at the same time, a potion concocted by an alchemist or mage could save your life when you fell ill or bring you riches, and a benevolent spirit or fairy could bless you with good fortune or even help you out around your house. While the supernatural was seen as a very real threat, it also left open some incredible possibilities. It was really just another part of the world. I feel like many modern fantasy stories lose that thread to one degree or another. Often we either find ourselves in a world where magic is everything and all sense flies out the window, or using magic ends up being a horrific Faustian bargain that you should never ever fuck with. But the Ancient Magus Bride strikes a perfect balance, capturing the feeling of a world where magic is a tool that can be used for great good or great evil, and everything in between. Studio Wit's talented animation team so far has brought some really incredible, breathtaking moments of wonder to life, but they've also used their talents to realize some truly dark, horrifying imagery, and even to show something as mundane as a letter being sent in a really crazy and creative way. Balancing both sides of the magical coin makes the wondrous moments more wonderful and the scary moments that much scarier. It makes the world of the show feel rich and alive, and while you're watching it, you really can believe, even if it's just for a second, that there might be a fairy or two hiding at the bottom of your garden. Or, like, under the potted plant on your balcony or windowsill, I guess, because who has gardens anymore? What do you think, guys? Are you enjoying the Ancient Magus Bride so far? What are the best interpretations of real-world mythology that you've seen in anime? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, you know what to do with those buttons below the video. You also know that I recommend reading or watching Spice and Wolf if you're a fan of the Ancient Magus Bride, but I'll say it one more time for posterity and anyone who wasn't listening. The Spice and Wolf light novels are impeccably well-written and well-translated works of fantasy fiction, and you can read all of them in ebook form on your phone, tablet, or computer right now if you buy them from the Bookwalker store. You can also buy the first volume of Wolf and Parchment, a new sequel series about the adventures of Holo and Lawrence's daughter Miuri and her adopted brother Cole. To celebrate that release, if you buy volume 1 of Wolf and Parchment before December 18th, you'll be entered to win one of 3 adorable Holo Nendoroids or one of 2 Spice and Wolf Shikishi boards signed by series author Isuna Hasekura. If you use the promo code BASEMENT at checkout when you buy the book, you can pick it up and enter the contest for just $2. And remember, you'll be able to read that on your phone or whatever else you want with the super convenient Bookwalker app. Or if you don't want the prizes, but you do want to catch up on the original series, you can earn a $10 discount coupon for every 5 volumes you buy between now and the end of the contest. Click the link in the doobly-doo to learn more and buy Spice and Wolf from Bookwalker. Or if you want to keep watching my videos, then click here for a teardown of this season's worst fantasy anime, Black Clover, or click here to learn about other anime that have drawn from Western stories, or click down here to check out my second channel and my podcast, The Weebcast. And if this is the last I see of you today, then I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.